Welcome, everybody. I'm Jesse De La Pena. This is the Pioneers Live Sequence 2 podcast. I want to welcome all the guests. We're going to start out with Victor Luau. Welcome, Vic.
Hey, welcome.
Louis Segura.
Yes, thank you.
Miguel Martin. Some people know him as DJ Transit. And Pablo Punkout Gonzalez.
Good evening.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Great.
Doing well.
You know, there's people that think that like we all live in the same house. Like this kind of reminds me of the series that just came out, that documentary on the Brat Pack, where some of those guys haven't talked in like 30 years. You assume that everybody knows each other, but I'm happy that we're finally getting back to this Pioneers thing. You know, when we say Pioneers, we are definitely focusing a lot on what was happening in the 80s with the new wave scene in Chicago, mainly the Latino scene from the south side all the way to the north side and other parts of the city. And we had a pretty good event, fellas. Wouldn't you agree, last year?
Oh, definitely. That's why we're here again. The response was great. Nothing but positive feedback. People had a great time. It was like one big reunion. There's some people that showed up that I haven't seen like in 30 plus years. You know, it was just a great vibe that night. The highlight was the band, of course. And, you know, sometimes people, they cut out after the band. But no, not this time. They stuck around. They danced all night.
What about you, Louis? Anything stand out from the event?
I think a lot of people were just thankful that we came together because we hardly ever get to play together on the same stage. So that was really exciting for everybody to see. A lot of the feedback I got around the music selection that we used, because I think all of us did a pretty good job at staying away from music that we were playing. So everyone had a kind of a unique experience throughout the night. And then obviously the band, I heard the same thing about the band. A lot of people really appreciated that we had a cover band, and it was like a mini Cure concert along with all of our DJ sets. So that was exciting.
How about you, Miguel? Anything come to mind?
It was nice to see a kind of like a gathering of people that I hadn't seen in years. And I mean, even like Pablo said, decades, some of them, and, you know, all of them just enjoying, you know, the music that from the past. And like, I know Lou and myself, we played some new stuff in our sets as well to kind of, you know, give them a little flavor of what's going on in this century. But it was nice, you know, it was nice.
What were some of your highlights from the event, Vic?
Yeah, to echo what everybody else said, I mean, just seeing the people you hadn't seen in a long time, and then everybody seemed very happy to be there. And it brought me joy, as you know, as they say. Honestly, it went off without a hitch. The band was great. DJs were great. The vibe was great.
Nothing but positive feedback. Ever since the party, I've been running into people, and people have been sharing little stories and whatnot. So, I mean, the most important thing about this event is really connecting with the people who grew up with this music, who really are beyond just like casual music listeners. I've seen people from the north side who normally don't come that far south. So that was impressive. Where are we at this year as far as the programming, the lineup, the band? What can people expect this time around? We had the mix series. We did some merch. We did a bunch of different things as far as location, venue, all that stuff. Who wants to take this one?
I'll take a stab at it. So I think the biggest difference this year is going to be the venue. The first one was in an open space, half open space, more theater ambiance to it. This time around, it's a little more of a stage with a club feel to it. You know, 2 levels. You're going to have the upstairs and the downstairs. There's obviously going to be, as in terms of music, we're going to really focus on the genre as we did in the last one. This time around, instead of just a Cure cover band, which they're great and we hope to work with them again, primary. This time around, we're going to go with a band that's called the M80s, and the M80s are an all tribute new wave cover band for the MTV era. So a lot of us, and I know I speak for myself, you know, once I got into this type of music, once you saw the visuals of what was behind that kind of music on MTV, you were sold on the idea, and it really took me to the next level in terms of, you know, exploring other bands that perhaps in the past I was not exposed to here locally. So MTV did, you know, do that. So I think this time around it's going to be a little more of an MTV feel to the cover bands. They're going to be doing a lot of different types of new wave from that era. And my understanding is the M80's playing outside of the city limits, so this is our first time going to be here. They're excited, they're thrilled to be part of this, and it's going to be a great event.
Anybody else want to add anything to that, Pablo? What else?
Yeah, what I like about the Distro, and the Distro, by the way, is in Berwyn. What sold me to do it there this time was that it's closer to our north side friends. Not in the middle of the city, but it's not too far south and it's not too far north. There's an expressway access off the 290 off of Harlem for those coming from the suburbs or elsewhere. And the acoustics, the visuals at Distro are just, they're top notch. I mean, it's going to be a great show.
I mean, state-of-the-art equipment, the video wall, all of that stuff. You guys know why I like it. It's like 3 minutes from my house. I could probably walk there. Yes, I am residing in Berwyn as of, past.
Berwyn?
That's what I usually hear when I tell people I'm living in Berwyn now. I played a lot of different sounds over the years, and this is a very special one that I get excited about because I don't get hired to do a lot of the new wave industrial stuff. So it's always fun for me to kind of dig in the crates. Do we have a date yet?
Pablo, you take this one.
Okay, it's going to be November 2nd on the Day of the Dead. And the way I picture this was, having, 300, 400, 500 people, maybe most of them, hopefully, come down just like, the Katrina type of look, with the makeup and all that. I think that'd be just fun to see and to be a part of. Halloween this year falls on like during the week. A lot of people like dressing up, so this is an opportunity to dress up, celebrate the Day of the Dead, which is an important holiday in the Latino culture as well.
By this time last year, we had a few things happening. One of the major things, we started the whole thing off, was the USB Mix Series. That came first. We are getting together and we are doing another series, correct, Pablo?
Yeah, correct. You have officially announced part 2 of the Pioneers Live. Sequence number 2. What I liked was, again, everyone really did a great job last year. It's no secret that here in the city of Chicago, I do multiple USB projects. But this one is a lot special to me because this is the music that I really like. Well, it has a big space in my heart. And then, the compliments that I've received on everyone's mixes, the music selection, I'll get message, hey, are you guys doing another one? When's the next one? So the demand is there. And it's all because of everyone here. Everyone's hard work on the mixes.
We all kind of put our spin on it, and our personality as DJs and music lovers come out in those mixes because they're pretty well thought out. I really liked how they were programmed. Musically, you can give DJs 15 records, and we're all going to kind of approach putting them together in a different way. And that's what I love hearing with the guys because, there's some stuff you have to play. But if you're going to play it, maybe you play a different version. Maybe you play something else off the album, the B-side. And there's a lot of different styles that kind of go well with the alternative, the new ways, EBM, industrial. There's like so many different directions you can go from the techno side of it to what's currently happening that shares that same energy. Sometimes I have a good idea what everybody's going to play, and then they give you a little of that, and then they kind of, take it up a notch. But, after you hear one of these guys' mixes, you're like, okay, back to the drawing board. We got to definitely step it up.
Well, that definitely happened to me. You guys got me last year because you all said we're going to turn in one mix and it was going to be 37 minutes or something like that. So I followed the rules and I, made a 37-minute mix. And then I come to find out everyone has 2 mixes and Victor did like a 2-hour and 42-minute set. And I'm like, what happened here, man? I didn't get the memo. And I actually had people ask me, why is your mix the shortest? It was cool because I get to listen to it to and from work and I know exactly, I timed it out already, This time around, I think we're all going to be pretty consistent in what we're doing, and I'm excited for this project. Same thing what Jesse said. I think that for me, I didn't get a chance to listen to the entire project until I took a trip around the Lake Michigan on a motorcycle, and I popped in the USB and I got to listen to you guys, all of you. All the mixes were awesome. I got the scenery to go with it. It was perfect. I really enjoyed everyone's talent on that USB. I think it was kind of like I'm a fan. I've always said that about you guys, each and every one on as part of Pioneers. I'm a fan of you guys. and what you play and the styles that you mix. So for me, it was a big deal just because it meant so much to be part of it. Along the same lines, a lot of people's feedback meant a lot to me as well. So that's why it's inevitable. We have to have a second one, and I'm excited about this Sequence 2 project.
Pablo, any idea when we're going to actually release them or when they'll be ready?
Yeah, we're looking into the fall for a release date, maybe mid September, early October for sure. And this time around, we're going to go with a different kind of design. We're going to go with a nice round shaped USB. The casing on it's going to be like rubber versus the traditional plastic. It's going to be a lot more durable as well. And we also have a new design that we're going to introduce.
As we are in the planning stages of this project, what is going to be different this year? What's your approach this year to planning your mix, Vic, compared to last year? I mean, you did have the longest mix, but as far as like the actual music, the direction, what can people expect?
Well, obviously it's going to be shorter because apparently that was an issue. So yeah, I think I'm just going to go with more of the older music this time. From the last couple of times I played out, it seems that that's the type of music that people seem to react the most to. The newer stuff, regrettably, doesn't get as much play. That's the idea right now. Obviously, once you get into it, you never know what, as you all know. You start playing one song, and then before you know it, you end up in a different crate or whatever because of just how you feel that day. Yeah, I mean, other than the length of the mix, it's still up in the air. I don't know what, to be honest with you, I don't know what's going on yet. I promise there's going to be some jams in there.
Lewis, what about you? What's your approach this time around?
Well, I think for me, number one, it's going to be longer. One of the things that I'm really focusing on this time around, I got to hear all your other mixes from the first session. So a lot of you kind of let go and we're playing some stuff that I would never think. Like Jesse, you were throwing in some cuts there. I was like, well, Jesse's playing this stuff. That's pretty cool. I started working on the mix already. I have my hour in every night. I go in there and I mess around with 1 track, 2 tracks, remixing some stuff and adding in there. So the direction I want to go is it's still going to be my style, the retro style, but it's going to be a little bit of a modern twist to it. So I am, messing around with production gear. So I've been messing around lately with a lot of production and I'm eager to see what comes out of it. I mean, I'm probably about 35 minutes into it right now. It'll probably be about an hour long, but that's what I have in store.
And Miguel, what's on the agenda?
I mean, it's a little too early to kind of say because, like I was telling you guys before, I know that some people started planning early on. Like the last one, I was probably like, I think literally the week before it was due, I kind of just like, all right, let's just get something together. So I think with this time around, I'm probably going to dig in a little deeper. I just go through some of these older mixes that I had recorded from back in the 90s and kind of just go through some of these songs that I probably hadn't played ever since then that I used to play a lot of before. So that's probably going to be my plan for this one, to just kind of just dig a little deeper. Not necessarily go new so much, I mean, I'll always throw in a 1 or 2 just because that's just my nature. But I'm just gonna probably just try to find those gems that I haven't played in maybe decades. That's my plan for now. We'll see. That all changed like the week before.
And Pablo.
I'm Mr. Mainstream out of everybody, here. Well, you're gonna hear what I normally play, but yeah, I'm gonna go. I even got the title of it. I'm gonna call it in the beginning. So I'm gonna go way back, like try to go back early '80s. Try to stay there. Try not to jump into the '90s kind of stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be an hour long. An hour long mix is what I plan. I'm not gonna be doing like 25 songs in 10 seconds type of deal. Let the music flow. People. This is the kind of music that people want to hear the lyrics. And then also, I mean, might do like a 30-minute mix of this newer stuff that I don't get a chance to play.
Hold up. So are we doing 2 mixes or 1?
I'm going to do 1, but maybe if I have enough time, maybe do like a bonus 30 minutes.
Okay. Again,
yeah,
are we doing 2 mixes or 1?
We have more than enough room. Maybe I'll see.
Yeah, I haven't really given it too much thought. I mean, I started pulling records that I came across last time that I didn't get a chance to play. We won't get into the technical difficulties I had the night of the party. But that's the thing about doing these themes or doing these specific mixes. Still keep it a little more road less traveled. But at the same time, I'm going to give some people what they came for. That's important.
I give you props because we were together not too long ago playing downtown Chicago at a roast top party. I really enjoyed your set that day. You were like, where'd that come from? Where did you get and exactly what you said? I'm like, where did you get that version from? I mean, so if you stay in that type of overall, I mean, it was great.
I heard about that set, Jess.
The fact that it was downtown, it was a rooftop. I mean, it sounded like a cool idea. Would people show? They came out in full force. So that was great. That inspired me. When the crowd is there and, you've got the music. So, yeah, that was fun. Thank you, Pablo. We also did a T-shirt.
Yes, and this time we're going to do it again. We have a new design. It's tailored towards the Day of the Dead, as you can see there. And it has the Pioneer logo on the bottom where all our names right underneath it. As you can see, we have the traditional skull. In the Latino community, the Day of the Dead is a very special holiday, in memory of those that we lost, family and friends.
Victor, on all the design work, thank you. Everybody's got their roles. When we get together to do this project, everybody plays a certain role. Some people are, versed in the technical side of it and the promotional side. So that's the great thing when we all join forces and we do this thing. This is our second one. Is this going to be an annual thing, Pablo?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, as long as the demand is there. The demand has been here for the last year. I mean, we were at the hotel party. People actually stopped me and asked, when's the next one? Are you guys doing another Pioneers event? I mean, and these are people that I've never met before. So that just tells me that the demand is there and that they really had a great time. So when you get feedback like that, not only on the mixes on the USB, but the actual night in the event and everything else that was put together, it makes you want to try to elevate it, as much as we can. And, like you said, Jesse, everyone here participates, brings your ideas together, and this is what makes it extra special too. There's not one person, running the show. It's everyone's input and we all, respect each other's input for this event.
We started pretty early promoting the event. We already did our early bird ticket, and that went pretty well. When did we do that, Louis?
So early bird went on sale, I believe it was in June. And it sold out in July. By July 15th, we were already done with early bird. So right now, general admission is available for all of you. And then I should just mention that we are going to have some tables. A lot of people have been reaching out asking if, tables at our age are prime real estate, man, both on the floor and then in the VIP upstairs. So those will be available. More details to follow on pricing and all of that. That should be out very soon. In terms of merch, I think Pablo can speak to that, but we already introduced the T-shirt. I think the T-shirt will be available there as well.
Definitely we'll have some at the event because last year at the pavilion, people were asking for merch. We weren't ready for that. This year we will be.
We also last year we did some packages. We did some kind of packages. I remember there was like a USB, a T-shirt.
Yeah, I think we did do something last year along those lines where we bundled. It was a USB with a T-shirt. I know that this year that could be a possibility. I mean, I even had people ask me, do you remember we did the backstage thing? Those of us that had people asking if we were selling those, the event badges. I'm like, no, those are just for people that are working. But it was kind of cool to see that there's a demand for that. The lanyards with the printout, because it had like a mini flyer on it. It looked really cool.
Let's not forget the demand for Miguel's vinyl.
Yes.
Part of the package.
The combo.
Yeah, it was, I included my Echo Droids vinyl, our last EP.
Will we be having the same again this year, Miguel?
The night before this event, myself and Frank and Tony, Echo Droids, were performing live at the Sanctum Festival. We're going to be selling merch there, our records, and I think I might be also designing a T-shirt for that as well. So depending if there's any records left over from the festival, that I might have a few. I'll put a few aside. I still have like maybe about 40-ish records, maybe 30 left from the batch. So we'll see.
I wanted to talk about our idea to do some individual Spotify playlists. We did a good job with the opening music last year. We all collaborated on a playlist. The idea was it wasn't stuff that was going to be in our set. I want to do something like that again. And we talked about maybe some of the most influential stuff. Maybe it's albums, maybe it's, 12-inch singles, but music that really influenced us and really pushed us in that direction.
I started putting some songs together in a Spotify playlist. It's kind of a
Can
mix.
I put you guys in the spot and ask you for like one song or album that we can share right now? How about that? Pop quiz, hot shot.
I'll put mine. One of mine that I put in there that was always kind of like a song that really stood out for me when the first time I heard it to like now even was Mind Phaser from Frontline Assembly. That's one. I mean, there's a lot, but that was
Okay.
one that always stood out for me.
Mine would have to be Upstairs at Eric, Yazoo.
That full
That
album.
has
Oh yeah.
I would say for me would be a Yellow Excess. I love Yellow. I mean that to me that opened my ears to that. Just a whole different sound.
Anything come to mind, Lewis?
Well, I mean, as far as albums go, I have a lot in my head that are influential, but I'm just going to go with one in particular. Everybody knows I'm a sucker for Depeche Mode, but one in particular is Photographic. I think that song really kind of leveled my sonic ear into that whole realm of bands and introduced me to something completely different.
All right, Jess.
You're up, Jess.
The B-side and the album cuts were always something that kind of attracted me, but I didn't really always pay attention to the names. I knew the single that we would buy. I mean, there's probably so many. I don't know if I have a good answer for that, but one thing I would like to actually bring up is, when we go to these parties, whether they're on the north side or south side, you start hearing the hits. You're going to hear Hassan and Headhunter and all those stuff. So you come in prime time, midnight, whatever, and you do your set. The thing that I really miss spinning like full nights, I like that early hour, 9 o'clock to 11.
The build up.
Building
So
up the
much.
night, kicking it off.
Yeah, setting the tone. And that covers the really mellow stuff. The Cocteau Twins and the 4AD and all that stuff. So that's something that you don't normally hear. They don't really focus on the down tempo, the mid tempo. As we progress and we start learning more about this music and it's coming out and there's other subgenres, think about 120 Minutes, the show that a lot of people got influence from. And they incorporated more rock. They incorporated rap. It was such a great mixture. And, there were skaters. That was like being on the north side. What was happening on that show kept you engaged on what was happening around the world. I remember seeing the Bizarre Love Triangle video premiere on 120 Minutes. That will probably be a little more of my influence for the mix and probably for my set. Severed Heads and a lot of those Wax Tracks label bands and stuff that was always pretty cool. There would always be these new projects that later we found out there were a lot of the Al Jurgensens and all of those side projects that, Greater Than One and all that Wax Tracks music. It's kind of like, a kid in the candy store. There's so much music and you've got that hour to try to squeeze it in. So you want to make it count. Before we get out of here, also, I would like to go around and ask you guys about specific parties, nights, clubs in Chicago that played a part in your growth when it came to this music. Obviously, we'll talk about Medusa's. That was probably one of the very biggest influences on a lot of people, but not everyone. I've had conversations with Pablo. He never went to Medusa's but a handful of times. But obviously we were getting the music from different places, whether it was Herb Kent and the Punkout scene or it was 120 Minutes. So everybody had their little secret stash. When you would tell the average person about a band or a song and stuff, it wasn't common knowledge like it is now, what alternative music means today. Back then it was like, Revolting Cocks? What do you mean, Revolting Cocks? It was kind of like outcast music back then. It wasn't so popular. As we got into it through the 80s and through the 90s, more people embraced it. There was a lot more, blurred lines. Just kind of going around, what were some early parties or early bars and clubs that you think of
For me, I mean, obviously the early parties all came about from that little radio station on the South Side. I mean, I ended up getting booked. My first residency was at Alcatraz, the original Alcatraz. 90, what was it, Pablo? 90, 89, 90?
I started in '89.
9, right. We were there for I don't know how many years, but as a result of that, we ended up playing at all these other places too. Taurus was a great spot to play what you wanted, with a lot of the DJs playing what wasn't popular back then. And that's, I think, what's important to really realize about what we're doing is that the music that we are kind of highlighting here at our event is music that wasn't popular back then. So I remember, I mean, being booed and ridiculed at like the Highlanders Hall because Bad Boy Bill was doing a set, and then I went on and I played, behind the wheel, and people are like, "What is this?" So for me, all those parties were kind of a trial and error to see what was it. But I think I said it in the last podcast that we had, that I knew if I made the girls dance, the guys would follow. And so I started paying attention to the dance floor a lot more and at that point I wasn't a resident DJ. I was just kind of watching the dance floors. As a DJ, I was playing what I liked, but I also wanted to make sure that people were enjoying it. So those early parties for me, and I mentioned a few here, but really at Alcatraz, what we had with Al there, Pablo and I and Miguel, we were really just kind of he let us have musical freedom. And we were playing different things, and all three of us were playing different styles really to the same crowd. And it was a great opportunity for us to kind of learn what people liked and what they were digging, and also, get creative with some of the stuff. I mean, we blended in some techno and German house and, just some different things into what we did. And that was on the south side of Chicago. I mean, we were really kind of doing that while Jesse, you and company were up on the north side, and we heard all about it, and we're like, we need to do something like that down here. So
What about you, Miguel? What comes to mind?
I think early on, like the exposure from when I first started DJing, that it was the house and Italo disco and high energy. And then like that transition probably like late 87 to the industrial and like synth pop stuff. Mainly industrial was for me. When my eyes got really open was going to the new scene. Not the old one, but the one that was over by where UIC is now, by the expressway, by the old Maxwell Street. I think going there, watching the DJs that played there and just listening to a lot of this stuff, including yourself, because I know you played there as well, Jess. That was one of the big kind of like where I would go to hear this new stuff, that I was just getting into. For me, it was like, as far as playing, it's funny, but it was those 5009 South Ashland parties. I remember vividly that there I was able to really play like the hardest industrial stuff that I had, and people would eat it up. I don't know why. It was just that little spot was hot for that. And I vividly remember DJing at a lot of these parties. So really was there. And like I said, of course, Alcatraz, because Alcatraz was where I was able to, how would you say, really shape my sound. So yeah, Alcatraz was obviously the big place. I mean, that's when I was already kind of getting into my own, like as far as finding my sound and being able to play that to very large crowds.
How about you, Vic? What comes to mind?
I mean, as far as the music, other than Medusas, I used to love going to Club 950 and the original Exit on Wells. And those places were just amazing because they played all the music that I love, As far as playing, I was never really a resident anywhere, so most of the stuff I did was mobile. We did a couple of parties at a couple of different venues, and to my recollection, the best one we ever had was at this club called Industry. It was off of like Halstead-ish and
Hubbard,
a little bit
right
up
off
north.
Hubbard.
Yeah, and we
remember.
packed that place back, and it was just an amazing party. And I mean, that's the fondest memory I have of doing this. But other than that, just going to like 950 and Exit on Wells. I mean, the music selection there was amazing. I don't even know who the DJs were, to be honest with you, but they played some amazing music.
Pablo?
I think for me, my '80s experience with that music was mostly on the radio, and being involved in radio at such a young age, and I was in the record pool, right? So I'm getting all this kind of new music, just trying it out and playing it, on the radio to help me, promote it, because that's what we do as DJs. We're promoting other people's music, promoting it, playing it, Then when it becomes a hit, people are coming up to you, hey, what's the name of that song? They're calling you, where can I get this at? What's the name of that band, etc. And then definitely the Herb Kent Punkout show in the early 80s, on 1981. That opened my my musical taste to something totally different. But then club wise, I was doing a lot of mobile gigs all over the city in the 80s. I only had one real residency, and that was at Alcatraz. And like Lewis said, Al gave us like the green light to go, and we took that green light. We played, we experimented. People to today, decades later, talk about that place. I met a couple. There was a reunion not too long ago. I met a couple who met there and got married, and they're like, "Oh, because of Alcatraz and you guys, that became our spot, etc." Because especially in the Latino community, that Alcatraz was like their Medusas. For like even it wasn't on the south side. It was 112 North Green, north side of Chicago, but for the Latino community, that was like their Medusas. They didn't have to go all the way up north. And speaking of Medusas, I've only been there twice. You're right. I don't know how you remember that. Once that I wanted to check it out, see what the buzz was about, and it was great. It was Ann Clark performing, and two, and the second time was like I was like a guest DJ. But that was it. Everything else was mostly radio and these mobile gigs. And as an adult, going, now I'm 21. I'm an adult. I loved the Dome Room. The Dome Room, which was a part of the Excalibur. Man, just seeing, looking at the ceiling, looking at those, they had that artwork of these eyes looking at you. I look like a Zeus, I believe. I don't know what he was, but that vibe at the Dome Room, I loved it. That was my spot.
Yeah, I think back then we were fortunate to have the teen clubs. There was Medusa's, obviously Alcatraz, even McGreevy's up north, northern suburbs. After I was old enough, it would be like, concerts at the Metro. Smart Bar played a real big part early on. Neil was always a big one. I never made it to Limelight, but I knew of Limelight. The funny thing about it is that, we kind of all rebelled against house music because that was the norm. Everybody was playing house music. If you were a DJ, you were playing dance music. Then it became house music. We had this mission to try to push our music forward. I told this story before. We were so anti-house at that point because we wanted to distinguish ourselves. And then what happens? All the bands that we're following start making house versions of their music. Severed Heads, New Order. And so it was hilarious, to really see where we were musically. But yeah, all of those places played a part. And I can't forget the Prologue. That was our answer to Medusa's because we had our own little thing on the south side. That's what we were all trying to do, is establish the scene. We were just trying to push it forward. And we were too young. A lot of us weren't playing in the 21 and over clubs. So when we were doing these parties on the south side or the teen clubs, it was like, that was our thing, And eventually, Northsiders came to the south side and vice versa. And it became more of a normal thing to travel and go out to the burbs. But in the beginning, we were just looking to establish our sound. And, even touching on the whole Pioneers thing, we were definitely some of the first DJs on the south side playing this music and really championing it. If you were a DJ, you were playing dance music, electro, maybe you were playing high energy, and you were playing Chicago house, what became a genre. There wasn't a lot of people playing what we were playing. I can definitely second clearing dance floors and really kind of getting slack for playing this music because it'd be a packed party and everybody'd be out there dancing, and then you do your set, and then those 8 people would come out and dance, and everybody would go to the bar and do whatever. So we were always kind of the outcasts. So a lot of times when we talk about the Pioneers, we're very specific to a certain side of the city, a certain demographic, more the Latino community. And, WCYC had a lot to play with breaking a lot of this music. That's kind of the background of how this whole idea came together. Maybe, Pablo, real quick, you want to touch on how the Pioneers project came together?
Well, it came together, and I've done like U-Wave alternative type of USBs, but I wanted to put one with people that really were influential, really were there from the beginning, and all you four on here, boom, came to mind. Everyone on this panel, you can't dispute it. You can't rewrite history. We created that history. We helped influence the music. We promoted it. We took the shots, like Jesse said. We took the chances that, I did, playing newer music on the radio all the time. And at clubs, the mobile events, we pioneered that all the way where it inspired others till today. So putting this USB with you guys included, it had to be you, like the song said. The song says, each of you are looked at, respected in the community, in the DJ community, for what we did back then and what we're continuing to do now.
Who would have thought that many years later we would be getting back together, doing these events, playing the music that we were promoting, trying to really push. It turned out pretty good. I mean, how many years later? I mean, most of us are in our 50s or close to it. Some of us later in the 50s. Who would have thought 30, 40 years later, we would still be this passionate about the music, about getting people out and sharing it and doing these events. So I'm happy to be a part of that.
They say that house music is spiritual. Alternative music is a way of life.
I could agree. I would second that. From the dress, from the fashion, from everything. We chose to look a certain way and carry ourselves in a certain way, in a certain fashion. But yeah, it wasn't what everybody was doing. There's been a resurgence, and later on, more people embraced it. But we were out there in the trenches pretty early on, Definitely not to take away from any of the early DJs, because the North Side, the 21 and over clubs, they had their own thing. But we, as kids, we weren't old enough to get into those places. So it's great that we were, resourceful, whether it was mobile, whether it was our own little clubs. But yeah, big up to all the pioneers, the people who were behind Club Naked, Prologue, Alcatraz, all of those staples that became a normal thing on the South Side. We were young, so we kind of made do with what we had, and we created something for our crowd. I guess the million-dollar question, Pablo, how can people find out more information about the event? Where can they look to purchase tickets and get some more information if they want to get tables and all that stuff, merch?
Okay, for sure. It's the event, once again, it's November 2nd at Distro. That's 6815 Roosevelt in Berwyn, Illinois.
Yeah, we're on the Eventbrite page, and actually that's been posted a couple times or a few times on social media platforms. We can definitely share it as part of this podcast, I should say. Plenty of general admission tickets still available. I know that prices will go up. The point of this is not to have everybody show up at the door trying to get in, because we are going to be maxed at this place. It's not, I don't think it's as big as the last time. So you want to make sure you secure your tickets early. Table prices will be out shortly. I'm going to say soon. So you guys can jump on those right away. There's a limited access to those as well. And then more details to follow on the USB, the t-shirts, and all the packages that we're going to come up with. Interestingly enough, we posted that tickets were available back in June, late June. And people jumped on the early bird. They got them for $15. And all of a sudden, I'm getting bombarded with people asking, are there still early bird tickets? It's still early, right? Because it's in November. I said, no, the early bird closed on July 15th. And now it's general admission. That's why we said early bird, But the point of us, pushing this early is because it will be very limited in terms of how many people we can fit in this event. We hope that we have as many folks come out, support this Pioneer Sequence 2 event, and also create that same energy and that same vibe, because I think that's one of the things that we didn't really, we did say, we saw a lot of people from decades ago and everything, but one of the things I really enjoyed, and I'm going to leave you guys with this about the last one that I'm sure will be at this one, is the energy in that place, in terms of just listening to the music and just being around people that were all kind of, grew up in the same era in Chicago. That was really cool to have lived and experienced. And I'm looking forward to having that again at Sequence 2.
Well, this was nice getting together with you guys, reminiscing a little bit. I'm excited about the new event coming up on November 2nd at Distro Music. You guys have all the information, so hopefully we will see you guys out. and keep supporting the music. And thank you for tuning in. Good night, everyone.